we kicked off Sweden versus Denmark here at the DreamHack Open November on Dust 2. And I have to say, I'm slightly disappointed because our man Christo didn't get any kills in that second half. However, he did go 24 for 9 on the CT side. So I think maybe he might not be that bad a player at all, to be perfectly honest. And I don't want to kick flowskola. I think that's how you pronounce it, Vince. You can give me a guide later. Because this is a mixed team. They haven't had much time to practice. And they do have school in the morning. So I feel like maybe they are kind of happy that Dust 2 was a quick one, Blair.
Yeah, I guess, right. And it's kind of funny. Chris was the youngest player on the side of AGF as well. He's 17. He's kind of like the schoolyard bully, right? Everyone's young. He goes in just smacking them around. And I think he's doing them a favor. It's a school night, like you said. They need to wake up early. I think this one's a done affair. Dust 2, I kind of feel like, yeah, they picked Dust 2. They're like, it's a map. It's a puggy map. They should be more comfortable on it. They got a better win rate compared to AGF. But again, the opposition they play, basically other pug teams. On the other hand, for AGF, despite a 20% win rate on Dust 2, they're playing actual teams, actual pretty decent tier 2, kind of like bottom of tier 2 teams out there. And it clearly shows the sheer difference in not just skill level. Like Chris was just styling on them. He was just peeking them down mid again and again. Get that all base was ridiculous. Just peeking it, no flashes from his teammates, no one peeking with him, just taking the fight to them, and they were just feeding him, like Vince said, like lemons.
He was absolutely super styling. And to be honest, I think there was so little to break down in that map that Vu decided to sit this one out. But I feel like I can't make you dunk on flowskola's T-side. So instead, I'm just going to ask you, how do you pronounce flowskola?
Just go with the flow, the rainbow nipple.
Yeah, the rainbow nipple. I still think it's a belly button. I still think it's a belly button. I would love to ask Vu about Train, because I know he has actually been watching flowskola religiously. He is like the expert on this Swedish team.
Here's a problem, right? They've played it 3 times. They have a 0% win rate. And if you go back to the previous game where they had a better, I think 66% on Dust 2 out of 3 maps played, while AGF at 20%. In this scenario, I feel as stats, you don't really need much context. AGF are clearly the better team. It's a map they really like playing on. And especially if you're kind of like a newer team where you don't have, and let's be real, they're kind of like a mixed team, right, flowskola? It's not going to happen. Not in Train. Doesn't matter which side to start on. This one's a done affair. They're going to go to bed early. It's going to be a little bit rough, but hey, you know what? At least they had the first experience of higher tier Counter-Strike.
Well, I did slide into Misfire's DMs before this event, and that's okay because he's 20, born in the year 2000, and he said that they play the Swedish Elite Series normally, the top league in Sweden, and Frag League top division as well. And they played that as a mix, and then the Swedish qualifier came up for DreamHack, and they thought, this is quoting verbatim, we thought we will give it a try, and we did really well. Haha, we won. And it's hard to get pracs in because Nilo, Chauzi, and Joel are still in school, so they're only home after 5 p.m. CET, and that's when they're then playing those regional leagues. So they really genuinely do not have much time, and they're going to see what happens after a DreamHack in terms of the lineup. So if offers happen, then great. They're basically just trying to see what they can get. And I do want to say that actually we're seeing some pretty snappy aim from some of these boys. Misfire actually, his 180s are on point. Chauzi, we've seen some good sprays from him. So actually, I do want to say that I think there's potential in this team. So we're going to go to a break.
Yes,
do you think so, Blair? I wanted to come to 100%. You as well, but we need to get to Train because producer Dagny, if there's anyone vibing on this server, it's her. So we're going to head to a break, and when we come back, we're going to be heading to Train. Sorry, Dagny!
Welcome back, ladies and gents, after a very one-siding, blistering performance, if we're being honest, from AGF. A point to prove, perhaps, after their loss to Apex. 16-2, now we move to maybe the final destination of this best of 3. And today's proceedings, It's going to be Train, Tom. And I feel like if Dusty was rough, it's about to get a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I would be a little bit disappointed for flowskola if they don't manage to take themselves a map. I think they deserve it. And maybe not necessarily in this series, but when they played against Spirit earlier, they did really well on Nuke. And it would be a bit heartbreaking for them if they go out straight last and you kind of look at HLTV and you go, oh, 2-0, 2-0. See you later. That's what we expected from a team that's got a potato face belly button with a rainbow behind it. But realistically, they played very well in one of those maps and almost took a map off Team Spirit, who are our favorites in the whole tournament. Unfortunately, AGF seem to have come in with a completely different regard for this team and absolutely destroyed them on their own map choice. But again, I said it earlier, you need these sort of maps to build a storyline. So the story is now, either you step up now or you stay at home or go to school, I guess, in their case.
Yeah, and if you remember, against Spirit, when they did pull off that very close second map on Nuke, it was 16-2, the first map that they got battered, and then they came back. So we're asking questions like, they're young guys, they don't have much experience. How do they deal with being destroyed 16-2? Well, they actually stood up. They actually played much better. So let's see if history will repeat itself. They have the first kill. It's Lucky that's been put down pretty convincingly. They have a smoke and 2 flashes. Netric tosses his out towards the Ivy side. And that will lock off some vision from the green train. In the meanwhile, the bomb is actually pushing through Ivy. It's a complete bait and switch, but they're going to have to push through their own smoke, and a flashbang on top of it allows them to force their way out. It's carnage. It's bloodshed, but it's all going the way of the Swedes. As the Danes are being killed where they stand. Joel, low HP, as Netric tries to find some headshots at range, but it's Magi that will put the final bullet in. And it will be flowskola that get the first round. That's probably their face right about now.
I feel like it's almost like someone's taken one of the characters from Among Us and just given it like eyes and a mouth. It's like that, like the massive sort of head that they've got. Maybe it's a thumb. That's what we've been looking at the whole time. Someone's drawn a smiley face on a thumb. Either way, enough of the logo. They got themselves the round. It's actually going to be a full eco here. Oh my god. That is one hefty nade that just come out, and a fair few assists and kills coming through for Chauzy. A lot of ADR gathered, and more importantly, a free round.
There's 3s you could really ask for. That ordnance, devastating. Everyone happy, everyone with smiles. Love to see that. AGF with Deagles and HEs. They did have some more options if they wanted to go all in. Decided against it. They're playing for the bigger picture, and it's aggression. Grenades being tossed out. Minimal damage to Magi. An incendiary was tossed onto the right-hand side of main just to stop them from pushing out. Maybe why AGF decided to pull the plug and to back away. M4 at range is good onto Netric. Players being funneled and herded outside, but be careful what you wish for, because Frozlev now takes the initiative, comes straight out with a deagle, and brings it back to a 4-on-4. Looking for more, doing more damage. But this is surely where the superior utility and firepower sticks from the Swedes, and they can put this to rest. Surely it's a 3-0.
Yeah, this is a weird one. You don't normally see. I guess the idea in the last round was to get a bomb plant just to set themselves up, and they get one here instead. AGF actually playing things very, very safe on the T side, because it's unusual that you see no investment into a second round and then no investment into a third round as well. Instead, just a couple of deagles, but even still, they've got a decent amount of work done here. The problem is even though there's been casualties on flowskola, you can look at this and go, okay, well, they've had a free extra round, almost the bonus round of what we used to call it, to make some extra cash. So yeah, this is a decent position for the CT side. They can get an all pin already if they desire it. They have all rifles on the remaining players. This is not a start you normally get on the CT side. So I want to see an almost instant response from AGF if this is going to be their plan all along.
Oh, with the bomb plant in that previous round, they have got a really solid purchase, and they can actually afford in the next round as well. It may be without an AWP if they were all to succumb to their wounds. There's Christo down to $600, but giving themselves the best possible foundation. But that flashbang, I think it was tossed in from Christo. I think he flashed himself, because no one's got the assist on that. Very awkward turn of events, but AGF still come out ahead slightly. Netrick is tagged alongside Frozlef, but they do at least have a gateway back into this round. It's quite split and mix in terms of where they're positioning. 2 out of Ivy, using a smoke to subside any of that pressure. But Chauzy, aggression, picks up another kill. His ADR over 160, mainly off that second round. But it's looking good for flowskola to maybe bounce back into this. But Frozlef has the freebie on one, can see the barrel of the AWP round the corner, and Joel will go the same way. Molly gets smoked off. There is a slight gap in this that maybe Chauzy can make the most of. Do they realize he's here? Because if they do, and suggest that they do with those pre-fire shots, there's not really any hope for Chauzy to get back into this round. In actual fact, he may just try to save the AWP.
Predicts the angle of Frozlef at least, so it's going to be a costly round, of course, with AGF getting a bomb plant in this round and the last. Their money's actually very good for what is only a single round win and only 2 players surviving, so they're not going to be in too much financial trouble over the next round. The interesting thing will be this AWP save, because it's going to actually give them much more of an opportunity to purchase into the next. You'll still have Chauzy and Misfire with over 6,000. Magi with the ability to buy himself, and then of course they can drop this AWP over and still get some pretty good weaponry across. So it's not too bad for the Swedes. Of course, that kind of came down to, again, like Frozlef getting way too much control. Like, he shouldn't be able to get into this position without anybody realizing. It's a bit of a mistake from the Swedes, but one that I'm hoping they can rectify.
Pause comes out. I think this may be a technical as opposed to a tactical. 4 members of flowskola had 0 utility damage on Dust 2. 5 AGF players had 100 plus at halftime. That's actually pretty devastating. I mean, Dust 2 is the kind of map that on the first half, if you're playing sort of T, you have to be more proactive and you can kind of walk out into those HEs, etc. But to have nothing at all, that's quite surprising.
Yeah, I guess I would say that the problem was they never really got into afterplant positions. So you think about damaging grenades on Dust 2, I guess you could try putting some into mid or maybe into B, like a Molotov into the back of the site. But if you're going for an execution, I guess the main thing should be that maybe a Molotov should be forcing the player off a ramp or the site, depending on where you throw them. Maybe that's where there could be a few improvements, but I would say Dust 2, especially as you said, on the T side, I'm not going to harp on them too much for not having the crazy amounts of utility damage. It's not the most common thing in the world. This map, however, again, like I think the CT side, we're going to be looking at them, especially when you get into that A main position. I want to be seeing incendiaries going in there to try and deny aggressive takes of Olov. Ivy as well is a big point of contention with grenades. So I expect to see quite a bit more. And of course, for the T side, I think Pop's normally where we see an awful lot of grenades, like dual nades, Molotovs being expended to try and force players into awkward positions. Seems like, though, the guys on AGF are enjoying themselves. I guess when you dominate a map like the last one, you're probably going to be feeling fairly confident in yourselves.
Yeah, they will be certainly feeling very confident indeed. And, you know, they were discussing on the desk as we were that Christo was having such a phenomenal performance. Out of 24 kills, 21 of them were AWP frags. He had 5 first picks and a rating of 2.1. So he moved from Dust 2 to Train, another map that is heavily in favor of an AWPer. Does make you think a little bit in terms of looking at Christo having maybe a repeat performance here. Now, obviously, you can't expect that a player is going to have a performance of that magnitude 2 rounds or 2 maps in a row, I should say, but he has an AWP in his hands. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, not the start for Chauzy that CT side will have wanted to see. He's done quite well so far. Well, yeah, 6 kills, 3 assists, 0 deaths. Doesn't really get much better than that, but the last round that involved the save, and they've had to switch the AWP back into his hands. Some early damage done, but of course, without the kill, it's not really going to force too many rotations off. Although, saying that, flowskola definitely questioning whether or not to throw even a third person over into that B site. AGF going for a long rotation in towards Ivy. And this is where they had a fair bit of success in the last round, but it's a much more passive hold from the CT side, and AWP watching from afar with the ability of Nilo to help if needed. Oof.
Flash was good, but the timing certainly wasn't. And Nilo takes a shot and just runs away. And for me, that should be almost a guaranteed ironclad frag, and he will be punished as a result of that. That was a real chance that's just gone through their fingers. And it felt to me there, Tom, watching it, that it was just uncertainty over his ability. Like, the confidence may be a little bit low. He did have a pretty poor last map, only 5 kills to his name, but those are the chances that you've got to jump on top of. You had them dead to rights with only 25 seconds left. That was an opportunity.
I do kind of agree with you there. I almost think that this round, if you're going to put one word to it for the CT side, it's hesitation. Like, both with the initial hold, then the peek in, it was like they were almost going for damage control before they even played the round. And then in the retake, like, everybody fell off, then they decided to go for it, then they've decided to fall back again. And because of that, they basically ended up doing neither and just losing all their weapons along the way. So, of course, I want to give them a bit of a break. Like, there's some severe inexperience, as it's pretty much been mentioned. They haven't had much time to practice at all because of the schedule that they have. So I am definitely hopeful for this roster in the future. The problem is they're up against an AGF side, which, as we've sort of mentioned, they're heavily linked as like the almost academy team to North. One of their players is currently moving in that direction. They have a coach behind them. It's a very, very different look for the two teams. And then you go even as far as to say they almost took a map off of Spirit. And Spirit, well, they've got the full staff behind them. They're a team that are looking to try and challenge in both the CIS RMR events and versus the best teams in the world. So it's unfair to rate flowskola in the same bracket as either of the teams that they've played today.
Oh, I would absolutely echo those sentiments. I think that's a lot of fair points that you raise. And I agree with Frankie and what you said as well, that I'm kind of hopeful that they'll take enough positives out of this experience. Like, we're almost speaking like they've already lost. They absolutely haven't. They're still in this. But regardless of what happens from here on out, they take a lot of positives from this experience, and they do keep together, because there is a lot of ability and talent in this team. Chorzy still yet to die, still holding on for another couple kills, but Frozlef will deal the fatal damage. 3-3. And flowskola, do they have the money to buy? I didn't quite catch it. They do.
Yeah, I think Chorzy in particular is someone that I think we need to keep an eye on going forward into the future, because like, although like in the last map they still got bodied, pretty much the whole team did. 15 years of age, had some moments, had some here already, and yeah, I think he's a talent. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And well, we've seen plenty of talent come from Sweden in the past. Young Brolin, of course, still around. The problem is they're relying on him very, very heavily, and this has been an utter slaughter. We're starting to get into the realms of the last map, where it doesn't seem like AGF can really put a foot wrong, and they're not doing anything like out of the ordinary. Like, sure, some of the rounds they're being more methodical, slow-paced plays, and sort of playing off rotations with early aggression, but this round they just ran into B. Nice pace change, but flowskola couldn't do anything against it.
Does seem like the Juggernaut is starting to pick up a little bit of pace. AGF will be their 4th round in total and in a row. Mistfire trying to hold on to his FAMAS. Always a pretty sad state of affairs when the best you can muster is a FAMAS save into the next round. Won't be much alongside it. That's if he can hold on to the FAMAS. He at least will get one, but then sprayed out. A worthwhile trade if you are AGF. They can easily replenish that fallen gun, and it forces the Swedes now to get maybe some armor with the Eagles, but not much else. And it does feel like it is getting into that similar territory, which is a shame, because you look at flowskola's overall kills, and Joel and Chorzy are both at 9. They actually, the two of them, have more kills than everybody on AGF. It's just the rest of the pack is kind of letting them down.
Well, we're at least going to see one kill come up, of course. I think they need something to maybe ignite the rest of the team, get the blood pumping. I think that's always the other thing as well with inexperienced rosters, is you don't necessarily have that voice of reason to say, okay, yeah, well, we're still only 4-3 down. that we're not out of this just yet. And in this round, at least, it's looking like they're putting up some numbers. Joel has a pretty good read on the situation. Another kill comes off the back of the Deagle, and his teammates quickly rotating in the form of Chauzy. However, he's been caught as he tries to rotate. But the main player to watch here is Nilo. An AK in hands, another retrieved, in fact. And this 2v2, it's not impossible. However, I think it's going to be a 2v1 and maybe quickly diminish Nilo. With the trade, he can't quite find Lucky. No bomb plant even needed, although it was caught, as AGF will convert in frags.
It's a nice effort from Nilo, but unfortunately, it was just a little bit too far gone. And now AGF, with a 5th round posted up in quick succession, will have to contend with the full purchase. That was effectively just Deagles and some Kevlar. So now maybe Joel's AWP can sing one more time. Christo hasn't really been in the thick of it, but to be fair, a lot of these rounds have been quick in the face of the Swedes. And so his AWP hasn't really had many opportunities to strike. Good counter nade tossed in, does stop the initial push down ramp, and keeps AGF for arm's reach. But they've already expended quite a bit of their utility for Skola. They have to be very careful and tread lightly because, again, similar to the previous map, once AGF really started to get that momentum rolling in the right direction, they were unstoppable. And it didn't seem like Flowskola had a plan B. I'm not sure they are going to have one on train here. Magi up close, though, does get the upper hand. Onto Frostleft. So that's an important frag. He can now just back away and wait for the rest of the T's to move in.
Oh, Nilo. A bad spot here. The crossfire's not really there for them. I'm interested to see where the AWP is actually looking. It's a little bit further back, and because of that, there's a bit of a space for them to peek into. Nilo is completely caught out to dry. His teammates not able to help. But nonetheless, they still come out of this situation on top. 3v2 situation. He mentioned Christo hasn't had too much to do. An entry fragger is what you normally see from the AWP on the T side, and they need 1 or 2 here. Molotov actually going to do the majority of the damage, though. Misfire caught, but the time is ticking, and I think Lucky's realized he has to make a move here, and there shouldn't be a chance in hell for anything to come through. Christo, he may not need to save, but probably the right decision here. Actually, he might be able to get a bomb plant. They're going to go pushing him. That's extra cash in the bank. Couldn't get anything more and tried to correct for the no-scope. I think if he'd hit that, we probably would have lost our minds, but a bit much to ask from him here.
I think Joel's heart just skipped a beat there, Tom. When he saw he came off the bomb and he had a chance at a no-scope, there was definitely a way where that round could have gone the way of Christo out of nowhere. It was that moment when he heard the AWP rattle off. Fortunately, though, didn't connect. And Flowskola, for the first time since their streak after the pistol, I've got it done with rifles. That will be a good confidence boost. Does mean that it is very close again. But it's good to see some of the players that were struggling the most on Dust 2 really delivering. Happy to see it happen, because what you hate to see is if you have a youngster come into a game of this stature, get just completely battered in the elimination game and come out of it feeling bitterly disappointed with their performance. I'm hoping that, you know, for the future, these guys have a good game. That's a crazy headshot, by the way, like actually disgusting. But hopefully they have a good game and they could come away with this with a lot of positives. AGF, though, as you said, they have to be ruthless. They have a lot of points to prove. Misfire gets one, traded out instantly, and AGF continue to churn out the kills and move another step towards the 6th round. Chauzy, last man alive, has not been spotted as of yet, but now his position is known. AWP trades in for the AUG, a lot of damage to CMB. But now that they know where he roughly is, they can play accordingly. They can throw in their utility, get the plant down, and force him to come out in the open.
Yeah, there's no real worth to fighting this, and unfortunately the sort of comeback from Flowskola is very short-lived. Yeah, that shot, the Frostlev here, I don't even know how he managed to do that. I think that was almost an accident, because it took me a moment to look and go, oh, someone actually died. It just sort of spanned the corner of the train. But fair enough. The carriage not quite as bulletproof as you might expect. And IGF, this scoreline doesn't look too bad, but if you say you've missed the first few rounds, it was the sort of pistol early conversion. AGF actually didn't buy anything for the first 3 rounds, well, excluding the pistol. They didn't buy for the next 2. They saved up extra cash. So taking that into consideration, since they've had any level of weaponry, how's that worked? Yeah, but since they've had any weaponry, they've got 1 round.
No, that is precisely the summary of how this game has gone. I mean, they held off buying for so long that in the 3rd round, they had $7,000 on 3 players. So they could get an AWP straight away. After their buy, they had 4 players over $3,000. That's how patient they were. So almost sacrificing and being okay with that because they had full confidence in their own ability. Joel, though, has nullified Christo. One of those key members, pieces of the puzzle, has been thrown away and tossed out of round 11. AGF now, the Danes looking to try and get a bit of aggression. There's only 1 player on B. The shadow around the corner before misfire goes in, and Magi will follow suit. They walk into certain death. And although TMB has been silenced afterwards, it has opened up business for B. And no second player is anywhere close. Chauzy falls to the hands of Netric, and instead of sitting on their laurels and just going for the full plant, they get aggressive. They look to try and push down the aggression towards the remainder of the CTs, using that smoke to get up close, looking to annul the partnership of flowskola. In the 11th round on this B side of the map, Joel up, gets the first, gives his position away, can't land the no-scope, and now Nilo has it all to do alone, still needs to get back onto the bomb. That pop flash does very little, but Frostlev from the back of the site strikes, and AGF get a 7th.
I think starting to enjoy themselves a little bit more. Is a bit more of a back and forth in this round, but even still, AGF come out on top, and yeah, it's the same scenario again. We've just got a couple of players popping off for them. Frostlev, we mentioned him in the last map, only having 2 kills in the first half of their 13-2 victory. Now topping the board. Wow, I think there might be someone like Joel who might be technically above him, but unfortunately, a lot of the frags that he's been grabbing have then resulted in saves and not really net them too much in terms of actual rounds, which is the problem. Like, I think they need to be putting these players into more impactful positions so they can actually win the rounds. A lot of the time as well, I think the rotations that are coming out from AGF have been solid. And Chauzy, I think he's had a nap midway through. Not that anybody on our analyst desk would know anything about something like that.
Why, whatever are you talking about, Tom? Meanwhile, AGF now have to try and deal with an aggressive Magi, looking to take matters into his own hands. 3-on-2. HP bar actually better collectively for AGF. They have a Molotov, and there's no smoke to deal with it. That could very well be the round right there and then. The molly, though, is about to deplete, and there's a second one. Straight up denied. Oh, Magi walks into the flames. He's given up. He's like, oh, God, please, no, just get me out of here. 8-4 to the Danes now.
Oh, that's such an asshole after plant. I can't call it anything else. So you've just gone, they won't have smoke. So it's just bounced 2 Molotovs off the door. Like, it's very well timed by AGF, but it sort of reminds me of every match of like old Train where teams basically in after plant positions always just sat back, and that was the strategy every single time. So much so that now most teams in pistol rounds will just default buy a smoke because they know that someone's going to try and bounce the damn Molotov off the door. So to see it done twice in the same round, I like it, but it somewhat sickens me at the same time.
Big entry. Nilo dead before his feet hit the ground. Just slumped into oblivion. TMB following suit, and Chauzy in familiar territory. The poor guy has lost 8 rounds, make it 9, and he's only died 5 times. It goes to show how many times here he's actually had to just save instantly, where he's been on the opposite side of the map. He's tried his best to plug in the holes, but wherever he isn't, his absence is felt 10 times over. 10 kills, 5 assists. Bulk of those fairly lopsided in the pistol in the second round. But he's been plugging away with his ADR, still over 100. Are more kills forthcoming? You better believe it. Just quickly flicks into Lucky. And this is why, for me, he's a player to watch out for. Only 15 years of age. And he has this much patience, this much clarity in these very dodgy situations. He survives again with a 3K. Not that AGF really care, to be honest, Tom, because they are now 9-4 in the lead and they are just escalating out of control.
See, the thing is, it's like, it's one of those situations where obviously he should be saving the weapon. It's not the wrong call. The problem is, I feel like he needs to be utilized better. The same with Joel. Like, you've got two players that are 15 and 12 frags when you haven't won a round in ages. Like, if I see that in a game of matchmaking, for example, I'm going to assume that that guy's baiting the whole team, because it doesn't make any sense in the actual scale of the match that these kills have not actually played any part. Sure, the economy is a little bit more rough than it should be for AGF, but they're 9-4 up. Like, they're not going to care whatsoever about this sort of scoreline. So, yeah, I think that you're right in the sense that there are some talented players on this team. Unfortunately, right now, they are not being used properly.
Yeah, and I'm curious whose decision-making that is. If it's Chorzy that's, you know, saying, I want to play B alone, because he effectively is the anchor on B, which is strange, because really he's one of their more skilled players, one of their better fraggers. So at some stage you'd think, right, we need to put him over on the A side, because that's where most of our problems are coming in. Hold the phone for a second, though, because flowskola, they want to add a 5th round. All the trades now going in their favor. Beautiful tap to the head of Joel. It's a double tap, making sure. The bomb, though, in an awkward position, and flowskola are about to find out. If they didn't already know, now they certainly do. Out comes Lucky, but Magi's AK aim is true, and flowskola get at least 5 rounds coming out of this half. However, they have to contend with another full purchase from AGF.
It's a bit of a weird one, like, because I feel like both Joel and Chorzy again were in positions where I don't necessarily think they should have had impact, but because the T's pushed into the spawn, they got some extra kills and it dropped the bomb in an impossible position. So yeah, a bit of an odd round. And let's be real, like we don't know how good AGF's CT side of this map is going to be. Now, thus far, their CT sides have been pretty decent, to be fair to them. Bear in mind that I think they went 9-0 down on their T side when it came to overpass. So it's not out of the realms of possibility that they're going to have a very good CT side as well. At the same time, for flowskola, they are young sort of fraggers, basically. There's not going to be a hell of a lot of strategy or depth within this team. So going onto the T side of a map like Train, opening kills are very, very important, especially because it's quite rough for the T side. If they can feel confident, if you can still have Joel, for example, popping off with the AWP, it's not impossible they bring this back on the T side. So I've got a little bit of hope, especially if they can get this final round.
Yeah, and I completely agree. Normally, entries or opening picks are such an important, integral aspect to Train. The crazy aspect of this, though, Tom, if you look at the opening duels, actually, flowskola have more of them. They collectively have 7 so far. I'm not counting the last round, as HLTV is a little bit behind. But the 6 on the side of AGF. So it goes to show how well they are trading out those frags and then how well they are executing behind it. It's a case of that plan B maybe being a little bit too far behind. Now, time is running scarce. AGF do have control over A. They will go for the full plant. No one there to really contend with them, and Chorzy's already been taken down. Magi, through the smoke, currently has 3 opening duels to his name, so he's been doing a good job. And in this retake, he's the first player to strike. Throws left, shows his hand from the right-hand side. Over the ladder, crossfire in. Christo stepping up, dispatching with haste onto Magi. Lucky and Netric have to try and hold on to this post plant if AGF are going to pick up a 10th round. The bomb planted, though, out in the open for both the E-Box and Popdog. They know where the last player is. Milo knows exactly where he is, but the time is being played to perfection, and even if he picked up the kill, it wouldn't have mattered. AGF will lead 10-5 at halftime.
Who will love you today? What can
Flowskola's tournament life is very much on the line. If they are unsuccessful here on Train, they are done. This is the elimination match. We will be waving goodbye to one of these two teams. AGF, hot off the back of a very comfortable, triumphant 16-2 victory on Dust 2. And Flowskola to contend with. Their pistol rounds, though, have been pretty decent for the most part. They got success in the first half, and the bulk of their 5 rounds came off the back of that. So let's see, Tom, if Lightning can strike twice.
This battle is everything in TMB. He knew exactly where his opponent was going to be in that situation. They do at least get an entry onto the B side, but because of the aggression that came out into Ivy, I was going to say they've stacked up this B side, but the fact is the T's have quickly tailgated their way back towards A. Hit a cheeky dink. The problem is they should be expecting TMB. They should be, because they saw him in Ivy. He got the kill, but maybe expecting him to have fallen back. Now the pincer comes in from multiple angles, but shots not being connected. Lucky eventually gets one through. His footsteps of Shorzy, and there's already someone on the bomb. AGF with a great retake coming through. 11 on the board. But I do wonder if the young Swedes are going to opt to try and force this one, get back on the horse a little bit quicker, because they could get some AKs out here.
Yeah, they could. It's that kind of nightmare situation for a lot of CT teams where you feel like you should be very comfortable, it should be easy, and then suddenly you're against full Galils, and that's what's happening right now. So it is at the distinct cost of utility. Only one smoke and one flash. The flash has already been tossed out. And that flashbang tossed out gets instantly retorted on and denied pretty much by an incendiary. So they've thrown out their flash. They have no other real means of breaching other than a smoke. And they're already at arm's reach. This is very worrying for the Swedes. They need a big entry, and they need it to come up pretty quickly. They do have Frostlev down to 13, which could be a possible banana peel, but a big grenade from downtown on Ivy, nullifying a lot of HP.
Looking to try and fight on multiple fronts at once, but eventually have fallen back. And the problem now is they have one smoke. And there are an awful lot of positions, especially on this A site, where I just don't feel like that's going to work. Like, too many angles to cover. They do almost get a freebie, though, onto Netric, fighting in towards Pop. And there goes that one smoke, nonchalant, thrown out. And it's seemingly not needed at all. There might be many angles, but they're clearing the lot of them. Frostlev will at least be able to get one, but it's left onto Lucky. A nice first shot, but takes a nasty dink in response. He's not going to get anything more done. It looked like an almost impossible situation with the early stages of that round, but I guess all shots connected, and that was sort of what I mentioned in the first half. Like, I don't know if AGF's going to have this crazy CT side like you might see out of the top teams on this map. So realistically, if they start connecting their shots, if they start almost just gaining confidence and momentum, who knows? Maybe the Swedes can turn this.
There's no doubt it's very possible.
What?
But then Shorzy gets obliterated through smoke, and there's another one. Joel goes down to his death and gift wraps a Galil. There's no Kevlar to supply it, but they've bypassed the upper stage of box halls, and they get punished. No one covering Milo. There's going to be some conversations. There's going to be some pretty angry players on that Flowskola lineup right about now, but maybe Misfire can course correct. Doesn't look good. Lucky puts him down. And now Magi keeps the dream alive. He also controls the bomb. As long as he can keep his hands relatively clean for this next kill, there's every chance he can clutch this. Out he comes. Big frag onto Netric. And now Lucky stands against him. One-on-one. Does he force the plant? No. Tickles it. Drawing Lucky out into the open. And there's the headshot. Big clutch from Magi. Wants to get the plant just for a bit of extra funds. And barely even cracks a smile. He is fully dialed in right now.
That was the exhale. That was the because that was a round that never even should have been close. Like multiple, I would say that there was some pretty nice plays in there as well from AGF. I like the small detail of you not only have the nades thrown in, which did a hell of a lot of damage, but they set up another player just spamming through the little bit of the corner that you tried to escape to, basically. Trying to get into that back corner. Now they have another pistol strat. Now we've seen the pyramid that normally goes down just, well, where they've gone to now. In fact, are they going to reposition into the pyramid? That would be pretty cool. But instead, they managed to get one from the back of the site. It's not the prettiest of sprays for Joel, and in fact, well, I was going to say maybe he won't clear the angle, but he gets the job done. Still a player lost, but realistically, that's fine.
Yeah, one player is fine. More than that could be a bit of an issue. But they now have to deal with a full buy, which will include an AWP. At least one. Assume that Christo has one in his hands. They actually go for two. TMB gets the secondary AWP. Now, they have no kits behind that. But as long as they can just frag out onto Flasco before they actually push into the site, that may not end up mattering. Look at all these flashbangs, HEs, incendiaries, everything being tossed onto main. It's an even 2-for-2 trade before Flascola start to hemorrhage too many bodies. They at least dial back one in return. But Nilo's health is so very low. A bullet anywhere on his person and he's a goner. And look at the audacity to actually push through that smoke. Nilo just sticks onto the site, trying to peek around the corner, get some information for his teammate, gets flicked on by Christo. They will not anticipate Magi to be using this smoke as his sanctuary. He should get the drop on one of these players. Another flash tossed out. Christo still pushed up on the train. Gets headshotted down by Magi. He's just picked off a 1v3 clutch. A few moments prior, he could be going in for another one. Incendiary tossed onto the site, but there's a smoke there to deal with it. This is where the lack of a kick can really hurt, but Magi has no idea about it. Will there be enough time? He has to stick fully on this defuse. It's going to be cutting it incredibly close. He feels like he's got it, and he does, just about, with about a second or so to spare. AGF successfully getting the defuse.
Oh, that was so close. I must feel bad again for the position that Magi was put in. We didn't really name him as one of the players that was sort of up the top of the scoreboard, but in this second half, he's been lights out. But again, a situation that you feel like he never really should have needed to be in. And TMB, well, a millisecond longer to defuse that, and that could have been a completely different round. Nonetheless, we are going to see still an investment coming in for flowskola. They know how costly they made things. They know that the double AWP is gone. They're going to try and pressure here. Netrix still, he wants to fight Pop Dog all day long. And while with an MP9, it's not really anywhere else you'd rather be.
Yeah, tailor-made for these kind of positions. Unfortunately, who knew? Fire hurts. And while he pushes out, he gets put down. Shorzy incredibly low, but it's that man again. Magi seems to be omnipresent. He realizes what's on the line, and he will be dragged out kicking and screaming. He refuses to go down without a fight, but a fight is what will come up against him. Unfortunately, though, it's the sucker punch up from the boosted Lucky that takes him down before he can really build up a head of steam. And Joel is the next to fall. AGF are moving step by step closer. Just 3 more rounds required, and Flaskola's economy is in real trouble. They will go for a buy. They're putting all of their life savings into this round, Tom, and for me, this is a do or die round.
Yeah, for sure. This is such a risky purchase to go for. I'm honestly surprised that this is what they've opted for. Sure, the last few rounds have been close, and maybe they're feeling, as you are, that their sort of backs are up against the wall. So they're going to try and put this round on the table. Looking like the pressure plans to go in. Did he even touch the floor? I'm not even sure if he did. That was a ridiculous headshot to hit nonetheless, and either way, an opener. But they're going to try and pressure this B site, and it seems like AGF have a pretty good read.
Mate, Magi is on some special sauce right now. I don't know what's happened, what's got into this guy, but he is just firing on all cylinders. TMB, though, puts down Joel, keeps them honest. They have no Molotovs. The classic post-plant situation is not falling upon them, but it's that man again, Magi, with the wide swing. Froslove trying to keep his team in this round at range with the M4. And I think he's realized his chances are so slim, might as well save the M4. You have a buffer of rounds to fall back on. You don't have to snatch into this. Time is on your side. Money is on your side. In terms of the next round, likely that they will be dipping out of it. So Flaskola, we said it's a do or die round. Well, they've kept themselves in it, Tom. That force buy paying itself several times over.
Yeah, and it was off the back of one man. Like, you have to remember, Magi was also was also the guy who dropped straight into pop as well. So he drops down, goes back, then re-entry frags on the other side. I think he did just about hit the floor, but that's still incredible reactions. And this is prominent play. I don't know, maybe he's going off a conspiracy, like what the Magisk and Magix have in common. It's the first 4 letters. So that's why he's changed his name for this tournament. He's trying to embody some of the best individuals when it comes to Counter-Strike.
Whatever it is, it's working. AGF, they've gone for another force here. Economy clearly was in no great shape to go for a save. You don't want to save twice, especially in a situation like this. So they'll look to return the favor. With a real plastered together buy, they look to reel out flowskola, who've already got into some pretty forward positions. No one anticipates Joel, and he'll get 2 for his troubles. Tagged down to 29, but he's done his work. Putting more pressure on Netric. Good headshot. Will there be a second? No, he misses out on his chance. Nilo's running out of ammunition, but has enough in the magazine to take the head off of TMB. And the force buy has been laid to rest. Only 3-round difference now.
Man, this round almost has to be just a straight-up eco. Maybe a pistol or 2. I'm liking that we're starting to see some of these like high-impact players actually being put into a decent position as well. I mentioned it, that Joel was getting a lot of frags in that first half, but normally ones where either he was saving, I think the same for Chorsky as well, who has fallen off a bit, but luckily Magi stepped up and Joel has just kept going. 28 kills now, top in the server. Again, as said, that this is the more standard pistol stack that you will see on this map. Reason being that it's a bit of an awkward angle to fight, and they're actually all going to move away. It's a shame. Even just staying in position there could have been enough. Instead, Mist is going to make himself a bit of extra cash. A max 10 retrieved for the CT side, but well, it should be just thrown into the gutter in this round. Just try and get a kill with it. Try and make an extra bit of cash.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to prioritize the Mac 10 over an M4, which will be coming up next round. Good transfer from Nilo. 2-round difference now. Here comes the buy. It won't be amazing. Probably going to be missing out on a few bits of utility and a few scraps here and there, but it will be double ops again. Last time they went for double ops, they sacrificed any kits. That will be the same case here. Didn't end up costing them too dearly, but it nearly did, Tom. That was the 1v1 where Magi had to push through the incendiary of Connector. Some aggression through A main. Nothing too serious in terms of damage. Nothing that's going to stick too hard.
And normally I'd be all for a double op setup as well. But with the way that we've seen flowskola playing...
What?
All right. Okay, new Swedish talent. Pick him up. Magi. Ridiculous entry fragger. Headshotting people through walls when I can't even see the person. Pre-fires that don't even exist being pre-fired. I think this man could teach Rops a thing or two, which is something I have never said before. And, well, TMB's just sat there going, how are you all dead? Like, they've just walked into the A site again. And this is what I sort of was trying to premise before Magi just wrecked everyone is I don't really see how a double AWP works in this sense, because normally you want it for that pick play. You want it for those long range battles. The problem is flowskola are just going for this high speed, aggressive play through pop, where an AWP's not really going to benefit you too much. And while TMB, that's a missed shot he can't afford to take. See, that's someone who looks his age. That's the his teammate looks a lot older than 15.
Yeah, let's put it one way. Chorzy's never getting ID'd. Whereas Nilo probably will be for the next 10 years of his life. That is outrageous.
Look, more nuts in slow-mo.
Chris though is fuming right now. He's fuming. They're really young, by the way. True.
Played more rounds this month. Yeah, that's pretty... That makes sense, though, because we were looking at some of the stats earlier, and it's like over the last 3 months, I think we've seen like even like just a ridiculous amount of maps in general. Like they played 30 maps of Inferno in the last 3 months. Like that's just one map. So yeah, I'm gonna see a double tactical pause. Of course, you're allowed to do this. You can use, I'm pretty sure, as many as you want. Although I haven't read the rules because you know, there's someone else to enforce them. I just make them up as I go along. But for AGF, I think it might just be needed. Like the way that they've been dismantled over the last few rounds, it's not something to smile and laugh about as they were in the first half. And I brought it up in the first half saying that sometimes for younger teams, for lesser known teams, especially a map like Train, it can be fairly difficult to hold the CT side with all the rotations and so many angles, crossfires that are needed, even though it is a fairly heavily CT sided map. But if they can get momentum on the T side, maybe it can work. Well, maybe they haven't necessarily got momentum on the T side. Magi, however, has, and now he's AWPing as well. He's like, you know what? I am everything for this team. I will do every role at once. Probably calling the shots at this point. Will it be enough? That's the question. This round, it should be.
Lucky had a couple of free swings. Didn't connect on either of those. Will be struck out momentarily, you assume. TMB goes in on Joel, but missed fire now. Starting to clean up the stragglers on the B side of the map. There is a rotation coming to fruition. It's Christo with his CZ, but he's quite a long distance away from his teammates. And honestly, a flank is only as good as the foundation that the rest of your team allow you to really pivot off. So if everyone else dies, it doesn't really matter about his rotation. Let's be honest here. So if he can get a kill, that would be nice, but Magi takes him down. Now, far be it from me to question this decision for Magi. I wonder if that was based off spawn, because he has been doing so much work with his AK. You've seen these really brisk entry frags down in Pop Dog on the site, hell, even through Pop Dog door towards Ivy. So I feel like lumbering him with the AWP might actually take away some of that mobile approach that he brings. And he does drop the AWP back to Joel. I like that, Tom. That suggests to me that they know their strengths and they want to play to them accordingly.
Maybe he's doing what Nifty did in the past, where he's like, I'm too good an AWPer, so I'm going to rifle now. He's doing it the other way around. Like, I'm too good at this. Like, give me the AWP. Give me a challenge. But whatever it is, he is back to what we like to see. It has been dominant. Even more dominant than what we saw in the last half. Magi has found so much space. This could be 2 kills for free, but Froslev turns round just in time. And the amount of damage done by utility has set AGF up in a decent position. Another kill for Froslev. He's been fantastic as well. Bear in mind, his T-side half was ridiculous. He's stagnated a little bit, but looks like he might be coming back at the right time. The double pause seemingly calming them down a little bit and going from being slaughtered round by round to potentially winning one with 4 players alive. Of course, Joe is still standing. He's looking for his 30th kill. It's not going to come just yet.
Now we've been piling on the plaudits towards Magi, but Joel has been consistently fragging out. And that was the moment, as you highlighted, spot on, Tom. Like, he had an opportunity, albeit brief, to take down both players, and his transfer on the spray let him down in the last couple of bullets. And you've got both those picks. I think you look at a very different circumstance. Yep, 3 AWPs now for AGF, so they're wanting to play this real passive.
But why? Like, that seems like that was like, if you took everything I said moments ago and did the polar opposite, you get this. Like, with the pace that their opponents have been showing, this should not work. But maybe, like, occasionally you can see a cheese round go this way. I'm hoping it's more of a case of they accidentally picked one up thinking they needed another one. Then again, though, with the early pick that they've managed to get, we've seen flowskola slow right down. They've lost Joel, who, as we've already mentioned, was 1 kill away from the 30 bomb. Maybe it will be a curse. Even still, though, Magi is looking set up to just barrel into this site once again.
They're going to do it without any flashes? You madmen! That is craziness of the highest order. Straight through, no grenades preceding the push, and they had plenty of them, by the way. And they've paid the ultimate price. Chauzy now 1 on 4. Typically one of their star players has had a bit of a slow game. Hiding in the smoke, crossing his fingers and hoping for the best. Grenades firing all around him. Maybe he can get one. But after that first pick comes into play, that should be all she wrote. Bypassing the smoke, there's one. Got a second, looking for a third, and lands it! Chauzy is keeping the dream alive! Switching to the knife, in amongst the smoke, can hear the AWP of Froslev up close and personal, and he may very well have just won this round. That is absolutely absurd from the young Swede.
I don't know how that works. See, there was a part of me that was about to say the words, I really hate that the triple AWP worked. Well, this is why you don't have a triple AWP. The rifle goes down, the other player misses his AWP shot, and then both players fall because of it. That is unfortunate. And now AGF, wow. Let's put it this way, Vince. A triple AWP setup is not cheap. So getting one back is going to be nigh on impossible. They're juggling some weaponry around. And I don't doubt this stat by any measure. Like, not that I doubt any of them, of course, but there have not been a lot of grenades used. As you sort of pointed out in that take, they just walked in. Even after losing the initial pick, they're just trying to fight this out. And while it might be working, like, look at what is currently on the other side. There's a Mag 7 in play, which when we're getting into round number 29, you do not want to be seeing.
No, it's very rough. You're typically going to see the Mag 7 played either pop dog or like up close on ramp. Maybe Ivy. But yeah, it does limit your options significantly. And as you said, I mean, this is a direct result of going for a triple AWP. And, you know, rolling the dice and effectively getting snake eyes. Chauzy, I mean, the guy's 15 years of age and he had that clarity to hide in the smoke and play it that perfectly. I have got so much respect for these players. So much respect. And now they have a chance to potentially take us to a third map. Many people would have wrote them off as they did against Spirit earlier today. And we almost have the carbon copy result here, Tom, from 16-2 to potentially overtime. Lucky will be playing the Mag 7 up close on ramp. Position that really is tailor-made for this weapon, but the problem is that you're very dependent on that player holding catwalk. If your teammate dies watching catwalk, you're basically screwed as a Mag 7 player. And Chauzy is walking out of there. Maybe the inspiration comes into play straight out into the open, but Lucky's got two before he's dispatched with haste from Joel. It's a 2-on-3, but flowskola will have the plant.
They've won these clutch situations before. Timing for Chauzy. He's not spotted the man climbing up the ladder, but they've almost bypassed each other. It's a free kill, but Chauzy has gone amiss. They might not expect him to be this far forward, but he doesn't quite connect the shots. No miracle clutch this time. A bomb plant secures their money, not that it was needed. The Swedish side are going to have their finances in check. And AGF, once again, they're going to be sat in a situation where they can close this one out. They didn't manage to do it versus Apex, who proved to be a bridge too far. This from Lucky as well. Well, I think it was name and nature, because as you mentioned, the second that player behind him goes down, even, I would say, a second delay on that push out, and it is an easy close for them as they likely kill off that Mag 7 with no response at all.
Yeah, it's brutal up close, but anything past a few meters and the gun is garbage. So it does put a lot of pressure, and that's why you have to also commit two players over on the B play, as opposed to one that's more of a float player on the connector. That being said, though, AGF have passed their very difficult trials and tribulations, and they have a chance to just close this in regulation. flowskola, that man Magi, has been a man on fire with the entries, could not have picked a better moment to come out. He does drop Lucky, but Joel also goes alongside him. Christo needs to stay alive. Forfeit the bomb plant, that's fine. Wait for the rest of your teammates to get up close. Mollies, flashes, smokes, everything being tossed in. And another rotation is in close proximity. Misfire has been headshot down from Netric. And now all the pressure is swelling as through the smoke. Nilo has been perforated. He has been eviscerated from the AWP. And now Chauzy, joined alongside Magi, have to try and hold on to this 2-on-4. First headshot goes the way of Magi, spinning around. Not sure whether the remainder of the players are coming in, but AGF have it done. 16-14. They will eliminate flowskola.
It's like I'm happy for AGF, because I think overall in this series they have deserved the win, but I feel devastated. I think the Swedes have more than deserved a map victory today. I don't think they deserve to go home completely empty-handed. I know there'll be a highlight or two coming up from them because they have been truly phenomenal in some of the clutch situations. But yeah, taking Team Spirit to overtime, AGF, they came all the way back as well from what was a pretty devastating first half. And I have to say, for me personally, Vince, I feel really bad for the Swedes.
As do I, Tom. I hope they stick together. I hope we see more of these players. There's some incredible talent there, but ultimately, it was a lot to ask for from effectively a PUG, a mixed team. That being said, though, Tom, that's us done for today. We're going to head back to the desk after this break to break it all down. Unfortunately, though, we do wave goodbye to flowskola. Best of luck in the future, boys.
Welcome back to the DreamHack Open November, and flowskola are heading back to school bright and early tomorrow morning. But hopefully they can be proud and tell a few things to their schoolmates, because my word, train was so much closer than we thought it was going to be. And I think we might have some future Swedish superstars. Blair, who really caught your attention in that one?
Almost everyone inside of flowskola. I feel like Joel was fantastic. We saw some insane plays coming out from Dottie as well. He went 8-1 in opening duels. That T side, listen, we have been a little critical, all memes aside. The fact that they're able to bounce back from a 10-5 scoreline on the T side of train against a team like AGF, who it's kind of like their home map, just have the mental tenacity to do that, punish AGF as well for some of those force buys. Kudos to them. I think they're going to be going to bed pretty happy today. They would have wanted the win, obviously, but then great showing coming out from the entire team as a whole.
And with the skill that they show there, maybe it was a case of positioning as to why they didn't take that map. Vu, do you think Chauzy was wasted on the inner site as CT?
It's hard to say that. I mean, if you do well on the inner site, they're just going to avoid you and go to outer. So it's a little bit rough. But then if you leave your worst player inner, they're just going to run over inner and you're never going to have a chance to get much done. So it's a rough one. I think, their CT side definitely could have been a little bit better. They're definitely a team that does very well on T side, as you can see. Certainly some things to work on.
AGF, Blair, do you think they were keeping some of their cards close to their chest? Because it did look a bit puggy at times.
I think they got away with a lot of whatever they wanted to do on the T side, and that's mainly because they didn't really have a CD side, to be honest, the Swedes. CD side, I felt like they got a little ahead of themselves. They're feeling a little bit confident, and they should be feeling confident considering who they're playing against on their home map. But then again, some of those force buys, I'm not a big fan. I think they made it a little bit too close to them. Huge clutches coming out from players like Chauzy, for example, but still, I feel AGF should have closed it out maybe at 16-10, 16-11, a little bit more convincingly. But hey, a win is a win.
Well, we've got a chance to talk to Netric from the team right now because he's joining us. Netric, I just really want to quickly ask you, who is in-game leading for the squad? Because I couldn't actually find out that info.
Who is in-game leading?
Yes.
That would be me.
Yes! I wrote your name, IGL question mark on my notes, and you just are all going to have to take my word for it. I'm such a geek. All right then, Netric, before we talk about your match against flowskola, I do want to ask about Apex, because you normally beat them, at least you have the last 2 times you faced them. But today, you couldn't quite close it out. It seems like you lost momentum as you went into overtime. Tell us what happened on that final map.
The final map, we had a really bad start, down I think 7 or 8 to 0, and then we barely made out with 6 rounds in the first half. And I think we just had it was the start that really lost us that map, and the pistol rounds as well. And barely we had the map point first, but unfortunately, we didn't win it up.
Netric, considering I think everyone knows now that Christoph is going to be heading back to North after this event, right? How does it affect your preparation, and not just for before this tournament, but going ahead? You're going to be playing tomorrow, for example, and if you do go on through to the playoffs, for example, is he also maybe practicing with North at the same time for DreamHack Masters happening next week? So, what's the situation over there right now?
Yeah, okay, so it's only a few days ago that we found out it would happen, so it has not, we have practiced all the way until today.
Okay.
And yeah, it's not changing anything. We just play like we used to do, and Christo is 100% playing with us right now.
Okay.
Ver, have you got any questions?
Yeah, when you're looking on train there, you're feeling pretty comfortable going into the later parts of the second half. And you're force buying a little bit, maybe in situations that maybe you otherwise wouldn't. At what point, first of all, are you force buying in, some of those situations because of the opponent you're playing, because you're confident? And at what point does it get a little bit dicey and you start worrying that the comeback's coming?
Yeah, I think we only used to force buy when we have the money situation, where if we save one round, we are not having a full buy next round anyways. And because we like to play double op, then why not just force and one eco afterwards, so we can get 2 ops.
Netric,
So it's not like we are throwing around the rounds.
after today's 2 series, obviously a bit close for comfort on train, as we just saw against flowskola. How are you feeling about your second last chance saloon series tomorrow?
If it's Apex we're gonna play again, I'm quite confident about the win. We have played them multiple times and they both know how we play, we know how they play. I think we could have won today's game, and I definitely think if we play them tomorrow that we will come out on top.
All right, before you head off, Blair, Vu, is there anything you're desperate to ask Netric?
Oh, not really. I mean, good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you.
What happened with that triple op you had near the end of the game?
Well, that was a mistake, I think. Yeah, when the round, like everyone knows that we want 2 ops, so people just take an op when they see it, and then we didn't have time to say, oh no, we already have 2, so it was a mistake from our part.
Been there.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you definitely learned that lesson today. Thank you so much, Netric.
Yeah.
Congratulations on winning that series. We will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
There we go. If you're going to learn a lesson, probably one like don't run a triple orb. It's probably best to do it before you head to the DreamHack Open. But to be fair, in the long run, it's worked out for young Netric. So yes, we will be seeing him play with AGF tomorrow. We just don't know if he's going to be playing Spirit or Apex yet. Now we're going to take a look at our top 5 plays of the day. This is the first time that Vu's doing this, so I'm quite excited to initiate him. Blair, you're going to kick things off. Number 5.
Number 5, we of course have Netric himself. It was that clutch to 1v3, and he played his perfection. A little bit unfortunate timing for the last play. That was Dennis who got the bomb down, but he played as well. It was a very scrappy round, mind you, and it's a round which should have gone the way of his opponents. But yeah, he pulls off the 1v3.
Vu?
In number 4, we've got the nice little 3K 1v3 from Christo on Overpass. Just the rotation around into bathrooms before that caught them off guard. They thought he was going to be long, and he just nails all the shots. This is trivial for Christo.
Number 3 is Apex versus AGF. The marvelous Mr. Marcelius. It's a 4K. It's a 1v2 on Mirage. He plays it to absolute perfection, predicting those rotations from the CT side. Ugh, it's a magnifique.
Marcelicious indeed. And number 2, it's gonna be one of probably the easiest op aces I've seen in my time, and it was Christo just basically showing he is the better player compared to the entirety of the Swedish side. All of them peeking in 1-by-1. He kind of farmed them a little bit there, but hey, an ace with the op is still an op ace.
Play of the day, we've got Chawsy with the 3K from the most recent game. Hidden the smoke, comes through. 3 crisp, clean locks, boys. Send him away to the number 1 spot.
I think
he was spectacular.
Oh, I did scream quite loudly when that play was pulled off. I could not believe the maturity and just the game sense that Chawsy showed there. Again, we keep joking that he looks twice the age he is. He looks like he's my bloody age, but he's actually only 15, and he has to be incredibly proud of himself there. He did Sweden and his team proud. However, is he our DTS player of the day? Well, unfortunately for Chawsy, no, he's not. But a player who certainly earned it this time was Christo. Just going absolutely ham, especially against Apex. That overpass was a masterclass, Blair.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, he was everywhere. The only time where he was a little quiet would have been that overtime on overpass. A little bit unfortunate timing here and there, but he was just every game they won. He was so instrumental. He was great in getting to opening duels, and not just with the AWP, right? This is a guy whose rifle's quite handy as well. And I feel like it's a kind of a glimpse of what we're going to see from him when he's going to be joining his Nordic brothers in the form of North later on next week.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to seeing him united with Lecro, the YOLO player of North, as he's seemingly branded himself. And I don't make this like a secret. I love Lecro. Like, I have a Deagle that I literally have Lecro's like major stickers on, and it's called Lecro's Bay. So now that I've seen Christy perform like that today, I'm so excited to see the two of them. I'm going to stop geeking out. And instead, I'm going to say a massive thank you to our sponsors, Intel, Corsair, MSI, DTS, and Monster Energy. Thank you so much for making this event possible and supporting young, fresh talent like flowskola and the other teams that we're seeing here at the event. Vu, before we go, how was day one for you?
Pretty good. Tiring day. I'm a little bit sleepy here by the end, but definitely enjoyed the event and enjoyed the presence of Blair and you as well. And see you on day 2.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm going to get totes emotional right now. Guys at home watching, we are going to be back at 9:30 a.m. with the pre-show because we're going to be kicking off with our Group A winners match. It is going to be Apex versus Spirit. So we'll see you bright and early. Good night.
You see that I'm broken. I know